recording. So English language arts, here are TEKS. This is where all the TEKS are listed. And because yours is 4 through 8, you have to access both elementary and middle school TEKS. And what you need to do is begin at 4th grade. And honestly, I love it when my students do a deep dive of the entirety of their content area, just so they can see how their content area plays into vertical alignment. And vertical alignment talks about the way each of the grade levels align with each other in such a way that they build knowledge and skills, and not so kinder, first, third, all the way to 12. So the way I want for you to utilize your TEKS and sort of like analyze it is to read through and identify the overarching goal and focus for this grade level, and go by grade level, so that you'll be able to say, okay, 4th grade, that's when we begin to do this. And when the students start to do that in 5th grade in ELAR, we're still doing all of this stuff, but we've added this, so that you understand what's appropriate for the students, and so that you know how to help students, your 8th graders who maybe are having difficulty with reading comprehension, to bring it back a little bit and help rebuild some of those foundational skills that might be lacking, which happens a lot with ELAR, because there is a science to teaching reading, and it doesn't always get applied exactly the way it should, and therefore we have a lot of students that have difficulty with reading comprehension later on. And as a result of that, we sort of have to identify based on our assessments. And have you taken the science of teaching reading?
I haven't taken any of the exams. I am just right now trying to study. I was trying to study for the content exam, but then I guess I got overwhelmed with the way that I was studying. So I pushed the exam a little bit, and I was like, let me go back to the STR,
Hold on
refresh.
one moment. I'm so sorry. It's my son. Hey, babe, I'm giving a session. What's up? Yeah, that's fine. Leave early, super early, but just, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Bye. Okay. So, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, it is a lot, the studying of this. And so this is what the students have to know and what they have to be able to do before they leave your 4th grade class. And when we look at the TEKS for 5th grade, that is everything that they have to know and everything that they have to be able to do before they leave the 5th grade, so on and so forth till 8th grade. I need for you to take a look at your TEKS and do a, close reading of them, and identify areas of confusion or areas that need further exploration. For instance, if you take a look at one of these TEKS, decoding multisyllabic words with closed syllables, open syllables, vowel consonant syllables, vowel teams, and so diphthongs, digraphs, those concepts, you have to know what they are. And so for something like this, maybe creating and you don't have to recreate it, you can literally go to Pinterest.
Okay.
And get a very, what are we looking at? We're looking for, let's just do closed syllables. And we're going to find many examples. Look at this. This one gives you the different types, the magic E, which is what we saw, the vowel consonant magic E, like bake, pine, bone. So here you have the closed. And so maybe in your studying, I want for you to create something like a Word document, a PDF, something where you're going and finding examples for the things that you're unfamiliar with within your TEKS, within that grade level. Very important for you to sort of be able to very quickly know, oh, the magic E, this is the set of, like, these are the set of words that go along with it. And once you know a few of them, you'll recognize the pattern of the silent E. Love is another one with a silent E. I mean, there's so many with silent E. It's sort of why reading is difficult in English, because we do have these rules, and then we have all these other words that don't actually follow the rules, and makes it difficult when it's as a rule, rule-based teaching. So going through here, finding, look here, there's so many different examples. Closed syllable ends in one or more consonants and has one vowel. So back, splat. And there's some other really good anchor charts, homophones, syllable rules. Here's something for decoding. Like, we have to teach the students to decode words, right? This is such a really great resource for teachers. Pinterest is. Look at this. It's so cute. I'm saving this. Is so cute. So another one we could look at, let me show you diphthongs. Diphthongs and digraphs always seem like, oh my God, they're not even like dip. Oh. Here we have diphthongs and digraphs and diphthongs. Digraphs, here they are. They're the consonant digraphs. So CH, chair, fetch, whip, and then the vowel digraphs here, the double, foot, EA, so the double vowel, double consonant, double vowel. And then let's look at the diphthongs. I thought that's what I had looked up. Hold on. Here we are. The diphthongs, the AW, the AU sound, the EW, like brew, chew, shoe. And actually chew is a diphthong, has a diphthong in it, and it has a digraph in it as well. The ch is digraph with two consonants, and the ew is a diphthong. So what I'd like for you to do between now and we'll meet again, because I unfortunately have to go a little bit earlier today, but I want for you to, as your homework for next time, to work with your TEKS, to print out your standards and to work with your TEKS. Now, your standards, when you look at them, you'll see that they go hand in hand. They literally, you have word analysis, which is what we were doing. That's one of your standards. And that's where you all in the structural analysis, the diphthongs, the digraphs, the vowel, consonant, syllable structures, all with word analysis. So our standards sort of align with all of the strands that ELAR has to do, with the different strands in the TEKS that are consistent all the way through. So we begin with, let me see, I'll show you which was 7 strands. Here they are. So, and there are 7 strands, and the strands include each of the strands includes the 4 domains of language. So the 4 domains of language, of any language, whether you're Spanish, English, German, are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Those are the domains of a language. And then within that language domain, we are going to be working on integrated skills for 7 particular strands. And those are, and take a look at which ones they are. Just list them, but it's a lot of.
And I was reading that, so typically it says like most people just study for 5 to 7 days and then they take the exam. Do you think that that's accurate, that people really do just take that short amount of time? Because I was looking at the amount and I was like, this seems like a lot to do in just a week.
I mean, I would give yourself 2 weeks, because it's now different. It has an essay now. Before it didn't. So maybe that was like, was true of the exam before, but I would say give yourself, you know, at least 2 weeks to learn the content really well, and then to prepare for that essay, because you want to think about some of those instructional strategies that you would use to help. So I found them right now, the things. So the 7 integrated strands are here. And so it's going to be comprehension, response, multiple genres, author's purpose and craft, composition, and inquiry and research. So you're going to be, and all throughout that, in each one of those, we're always doing listening skills. So increasing oral language proficiency, increasing their writing skills in each of those. So those are the main ones, and you'll see them here, developing foundational language skills, developing foundational language skills. But this is through word structure and knowledge. So I want you to print out your standards so that you can see how much they align with the TEKS. And actually the TEKS sort of like expand a little bit better for you, the specifics of the content area that you need to know. So it's important for you to look through these, anything that you're not familiar with, where you couldn't turn to someone and say, this is what a digraph is, or this is what a diphthong is, you know, then you need to look it up and find some sort of either visual or restate it in your own words so that you make that knowledge your own and you have it again for retrieval on the day of the exam. Let me see. If you haven't already, I'm trying to remember if I even made one, but I want to say, oh, here it is. See, it's all the way at the bottom. Oops. I'm going to move it to the top. I'm going to put it over here. So the constructed reading breakdown, the way to respond, and I think there should have been another one where it was just, I'm going to look for it. It must be, because I have like 100 or like 97 videos. I know I've done one on just the essay alone for 4 through 8, but right now I'm just going to pull up the exam site. So we can just take a look at the specifics.
And the essay, does it always the same topic for the essay, or is it always something different, like per exam?
Let me, oh yes, oh my God. I want you to take this exam and send me your scores. It's $10 and it's going to be the closest. The thing is I'm so excited about this because the state of Texas is a crazy person as far as giving you guys help or practice for this exam. Like there's so many different preparation programs that have like, you know, practice questions, and they're nothing like these exams, because these exams they spend a lot of money creating. They're really critical reading exams. It's not just about the content. It's about you critically reading and ascertaining, what am I supposed to be doing here? Like, what are the keywords and phrases? And so they haven't provided us with new questions, and they have last year started, and they had a PPR exam that you could do. And I've been super excited because I tell my students, take it, that way I can see where you're at and we can focus on those particular competencies that you might need help on before you go into the exam. But they didn't. I'm so excited. I'm going to tell everybody that they have it. The ELAR 4 through 8, amazing. So I would take this whenever you have a chance, and please email me your scores. And then I'll take a look at them. In the meantime, work on working with your TEKS and going through them. If you haven't already watched all of the videos, please do, because in some of them we go into great detail and I break the TEKS down for you. Like we talk about things. And I was an English language arts. I actually have this certification. It was the first one I got in 2003. So I'm certified in English language arts and reading for 4 through 8 and 7 through 12, and as a principal. But you're going to have so much fun, but there is a lot to learn. And there is a lot of overlap with science of teaching reading, because science of teaching reading was born as a result of the need that we have, the reading need that we have, the fact that not just in Texas, but in the entire United States of America, that reading comprehension is like very, very low. Oral language proficiency, very, very low. So in order to raise that, you know, for decades, they've done research and teamed up with like neurologists. And we know that there's a right way to teach particular aspects, like an order with which to focus on certain things. There are foundational reading skills that we teach early on, EC through 6, that have to be phonological awareness, the phonemic awareness. All of those things are necessary in order for the students to be able to master reading and not get impeded and have high fluency and have good comprehension. So the science of teaching reading is really just a super focusing and expanding of what we already were doing in English language arts and reading. We just needed to focus on particulars more than we were. Instead of spending so much time on making sure that the kids knew phonemic awareness, the connection between the sounds that we say and letters, it would be something that maybe in kindergarten, but then they didn't spend much time on it later. No, you continue with phonemic awareness, phonetics, morphemic analysis, all the way until you don't need it anymore. Because those foundational reading skills, we found over and over via research that if they weren't strong, then the student was going to have difficulty with fluency. They were going to have difficulty with reading comprehension. They were going to be one of those readers that encounters so many unfamiliar words that their reading endeavor becomes frustrated, and they don't, which is what happens a lot when the student is not reading at their correct level. So if you haven't already, please watch these in their entirety. Have your standards with you. So when I say something about a particular standard, you can write it on there and you have your notes already there for you. And then when you finish taking that exam, send me the scores so I can, sort of focus our next session. And our next session, I'm going to invite some other students. That way we can have like a group and you guys can maybe like meal piece out the TEKS. Like you do a deep dive of this TEK and make a study guide of 4th grade TEKS. I'll do 5th grade TEKS. She does 6th grade TEKS, and then you guys share it with each other. So it's going to be pretty consistent, but you want to be able to say when the question asks you, what is Miss, I'm sorry, this always happens to me. Sorry, it's the Go CRM system. And when I first got it, I didn't know how it worked. And I would be giving sessions and I'm like, I don't know what that noise is. Are you sure it's not on your side? They're like, I'm sorry, miss, it's not me. I'm like, it's not me. It was so me. Oops. So, yeah, I would like for the next meeting that we have for me to, because there are several others and I'll invite them on that day, and then you guys can help each other and help you guys do some of the legwork in understanding the TEKS. You need to be able to say, if Miss Vasquez's 6th grade class is, learning about the Holocaust, which of the following, or you're reading a text from the Holocaust, which of the following activities would be most appropriate for her students? And so they're in 6th grade and you might think, oh man, all of these are great assignments, but based on their age, based on their cognitive level, like based on their maturation, like the assignment or activity that you do gets less appropriate if you don't pay so much attention to the age group or the grade level. For English language arts and reading, more so than any other area, we carry the biggest burden of being the enforcers or that language support for students that are learning another language, the English learners in our classroom. And so you might get questions about having a diverse classroom with students who are English language learners and how best to help support them. So I have included for you in the drive this document. Oh, this document here, because it's so great for breaking down the specifics of beginner and intermediate. Now, we have to provide targeted, focus, and systematic second language acquisition instruction. We have to provide focused, targeted, and systematic. Okay, well, those are just words. What exactly does that look like in a classroom? How does one be focused? How does one be targeted and systematic in the classroom? We have to provide them with the foundation of English language vocabulary, grammar, syntax, and at the same time, continue with that content-based instruction. Our English language learners have the most difficult job, of all. They are learning content-specific stuff at the same time as they are acquiring another language. Very difficult to do. This is why I like this. It so breaks down in real ways. How does one be focused? Well, you could be focused by pre-teaching academic and social vocabulary to support comprehension during instruction. Now, as an English language arts and reading teacher in the Valley, I often had classrooms with maybe half ELL students that were at different levels in their language journey. And so very often I had to define more words than the textbook creators or writers had identified, because they didn't know my students, and they might have highlighted, from an excerpt of Madame Bovary, 7 words. And I know we're going to have to go a little bit deeper in order for my audience, my particular group of students, to be able to go through the reading and have it not impede comprehension, even if it's social vocabulary and you think, oh, well, I know that's not really a content specific. If you have ELL students, you should know which words they're going to have, which words would impede their comprehension during a reading or during instruction. And so being focused means pre-teaching that stuff to them before we start using it. Building background knowledge to ensure comprehension during academic tasks. Organize group configurations to support all ELLs, especially those at beginning and intermediate levels. You always want to have mindful organization or group configurations. There should never be a teacher ever left on the planet that says, okay, guys, get in groups of 4. No, the days of giving yourself your own group are over, because it is the waste of a resource. This learning, cooperative learning activity is most beneficial to the student when they are working with peers at different skill levels who bring different perspectives, different ideas to the table. If I'm sitting there with only my friends and we all have sort of the same kind of parents, we all sort of the same kind of lives, we might all come to it with the same perspective. It's less meaningful, engaging. And if students who maybe are low as far as their language proficiency, and I didn't mindfully put them in groups, they might have grouped themselves all together. So now I have a group of beginner and intermediate speakers that have grouped themselves together because I said, go, 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 put yourself in groups of 4. And there's going to be no modeling of native English speaking by the use of their peers, which is a wonderful and necessary opportunity for them to gather and language. And it's actually a wonderful opportunity for all our students, to continue to use the content specific vocabulary that we're teaching in these small group and paired instructions. Use formative and summative assessments. So we can be targeted by doing these things. We can be systematic by doing these things. It also does a really great job of. Here's what I found. No. Do you have an Apple Watch?
Yeah. But I only.
The second person I've asked today and they don't have it, but you're supposed to be able to talk to it and it does things for you. Okay, well, when I talk to it on purpose, nothing.
Doesn't work.
No, I'm talking, doing work, and it's all like, I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't do your request. I'm like, no one's even talking.
That happens when I'm like working out and I accidentally hit it. And then they're like, oh, do you want to reply? So then I was like, okay, fine, I'll reply. And they're like, what? I'm just like, whatever.
Forget it. So it breaks down the skill level of in the 4 domains of language. Remember I said all languages have the same 4 domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And listening and reading are, let me go back to the listening and reading are receptive, and writing and speaking are expressive skills. And we are trying to build both of those, both the expressive and the receptive skills. We need them to be good listeners, to understand messages, to listen critically when they need to, and otherwise. So this does a really good job of breaking down the different descriptors for beginner. A beginner will have almost no language, English language, a beginner student. It's going to be the most basic, maybe yes, no, like the highest of frequency words, not enough to put together messages on their own, and certainly not organic messages, like as if I see you in the hall and say, hey, what happened to your knee? Or it's like out of your, if you didn't practice for it, a beginner will not be able to respond. Intermediates can come up with, it's going to be disjointed, it's going to be fractured. You might have a mix of Spanish and English, but they will be able to get a message across. They have simple understanding of routines, short, simple conversations. They are able to do in English. They are able to have a conversation in short and simple. Again, when you get to the more organic, and we're talking about like not ordinary things, or maybe content specific things, you might get into, they might need more and more supports because they don't have that language just yet. Moving on to the advanced. Now, you're not, most of the time they don't ask about advanced and advanced high on the PPR exam, but they might on the English language arts, because we are tasked with making sure that they are moving along the levels, you know, that they are meeting that growth. Our advanced students understand longer, more elaborate stuff. Our advanced high, it's comparable to English. It's like almost regular to a native English speaking student. So I really like the descriptors, how it breaks it down for us. But most of all, and this shows you like the depth of which a beginner student needs that support. It's like so deep. Their scope of language is so little that their support is really, we need to support them a lot. And advanced high, their scope of language is so large that we honestly don't need to support them. I mean, as someone who was a high school and middle school English teacher for 16 years, and I taught seniors, juniors, sophomores, and the only grade I didn't teach was 6th grade. My best writers still to this day were English language learners. Once they reach the advanced high, holy shnikes. And I saw it so many times. I actually thought about writing about it for my master's thesis. I did write about my students because I got a master's in English. My first master's is in English. And so I had thought about writing about it because I had seen it, but it was going to be so much more difficult for me to track that one. So I went with another thing. But in any event, I just anecdotally noticed like my best writers are always advanced high ELO students. Like it's like they're writing the doctorate for me. I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But it is my hypothesis, or at least it was then, and it still is now, that their access to more vocabulary and a larger, they have less boundaries with syntax a little bit. Like they do, obviously they follow the syntax of English or whatever, but they are like more willing to play with like sentence structure, and their vocabulary is almost double that, because they are able to like sort of translate what it would have been over there. And many times it's much more beautiful the way they said it. And so their writing, by and large, it has been my experience that once they get to advanced high, it is phenomenal.
Spanish has a lot of like descriptors when you speak it and when you use it. So like they put that over.
Absolutely. And then they put all that out, and then it's like, oh, when you're
Like
reading
once
their
you,
paper.
if you
Yeah.
only know English, or like that, good enough, like that's enough vocabulary. But then when you're learning it, you're like, I want to know it all because I want to know what
Exactly. And I'm
that
telling you,
makes sense.
it was always the case that was it. Like my best writer was going to be a advanced high ELL student. Like it just always happened. and I can like picture them. I'm like doing a little slideshow in my head of the different little faces. So I really like this also, because this gives you, it goes back to the different domains, right? So this one is for speaking, but then it tells you like what classroom activities can you do for beginners, for intermediates? What teacher supports can you do for beginners, for intermediates, within to increase their speaking ability, their oral language proficiency, listening skills. Wait, did I? Oh, wait.
Well, then let me get my charger.
Yeah, for sure. So here's the one for listening. And like I said, they give you 4 of these maximum in the beginning. For listening skills, we have to use the maximum use of linguistic supports, meaning visuals, gestures, slower speech, and not slower speech so that you're speaking to someone like, like they can't hear you, but so that you enunciate, because phonemes and speech sounds are different in every language. And so in order for a student who is learning a new language, if you speak really fast, and like sometimes I say things, and it's funny because my youngest, they're in 1st and 2nd grade. And so let's say they're like, how do you spell something? And I tell them, and they're like, that's not how it's spelled. And they'll spell it like they spell it phonetically. Well, you said it like this. I just wasn't enunciating. That's how it sounded to them. So that's how they spelled, or thought it was spelled. Same thing for the kids learning English, right? So that slower speech, think of it as this way. Like I can speak Spanish, but I'm not at an advanced high level of Spanish. Like there are people like our conversations that I have that either get too specific or academic, and they go like what I would consider turbo mode. It's like Spanish in turbo mode, and I'm not at the advanced high. I am like an advanced Spanish speaker. I need occasional support, so you know what I'm saying. But if I would consider myself to be advanced high, or an expert English speaker, and because I speak fast, I have to, as a teacher, tell myself, especially with my students where I have a lot of beginners, to make sure that I'm enunciating these words and that I'm taking the time to slow my speech down so that they can hear the individual speech sounds and try to begin to mimic and articulate those things. Because like we don't all get all of our ELL students from Spanish speaking countries. Some of them come from Nigeria, some of them come from Germany and Uganda, and they speak Mandarin and Farsi. And so those languages have different speech sounds, some of them that we don't even use. So it's really important. They have to get keen to listening to the sound, recognizing the sound, and then knowing how to say them. So all of the different things you can do for listening skills, the classroom activities to help build that, the teacher supports, and things that you should see as a student outcome with you helping and supporting them. So later, when you have a chance, certainly look through these very important model intonation and correct pronunciation of newly learned vocabulary. Again, with the modeling of intonation and pronunciation. And honestly, we have to model all of it, because the best way of our students learning language is via us modeling direct instruction of vocabulary and authentic opportunities to use the language. Like, hey, what's up, Karina? How was your weekend? Like if I had a student and they were intermediate, I would ask them, did you go see that movie you wanted to see? What was it called again? What is it about? Maybe I already know what it's about. I just wanted to talk about the movie because she's an intermediate student. I know she didn't practice and she might have difficulty telling me, oh, it was about, but that practice, that organic non-contrived language experience is very important. And it's not just important for our English language learners, it's actually important for all our ELAR students, because many of the things that you'll be teaching in your English language arts and reading class, they are going to be new and foreign ideas, some of them. And so you want for them to be able to talk about irony and to talk about the different types of irony in an intelligible way. And so you would have to have conversations where they are group interactions. Maybe you modeled the analysis of a poem for irony, and then you gave each group a poem individually and told them, okay, guys, find what's ironic, find me the irony, and then find me the evidence for that. What kind of irony and what's the evidence? And then have them talk about it. Well, I think this is a blah, 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 ironic. We want for them to be utilizing the language, talking about it, practicing their language in all of the domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing in almost all of the activities. So are you good for your assignment until next time?
I'm gonna try to be. Yeah.
Okay. The biggest thing for you to do, I would say, and it'll be a good like starting point, is try to take the practice exam before even starting study. Like if you want to read through the TEKS once, 4 through 8, and then try to take the exam. But I certainly would watch some of my videos before, because I teach you how to strategically break down the questions, because many of them are meant to be tricky. You know, they'll say like, before Miss Sauceda begins her unit on the Holocaust, which of the following activities would be most appropriate, right? And so they said before, right? We do different strategies, different activities before than we do during, than we do after, in almost everything. We do different strategies before we write. We do different strategies before we read. We do different strategies during our writing, during our reading. And then we also do different strategies after our writing and after our reading. So paying attention to those keywords and phrases, first, second, what comes next, before or during the reading, during the class discussion, before the class discussion, paying attention, because a lot of times they get you because they give you more than one appropriate answer choice. It's so terrible. It should not be fair, but like they literally give you more than one correct answer. One is more correct than the other based on the specifics of the word.
Write that down. Should pay attention to that.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, we'll get back after you take the exam, send it to me. I'll look at the things, I'll look at the particular competencies, and then make a more focused sort of lesson just to overview those, highlight those things. And then you should be good. Honestly, I think you should be good. Most of this stuff is going to be review for you. You already know these things. You went through them yourselves, right? If you were a student in Texas and you went through 4 through 8, you did these takes for the most part. They haven't changed so much. I mean, they have been revised, but they're not like ridiculously different or anything. Much of it we've done. They've added more to viewing and representing. We really need to do a better job of getting our students to be able to analyze messages from like ads, pictures, social messaging and whatnot. And so this here wasn't so big for us. It was like we did do viewing and representing, but not at the level that we do it now. And so it has changed a little bit, but like I said, most of this I think will just be review for you. And utilize Pinterest, because like I'm telling you, English teachers, not just English teachers, you can Pinterest for anything. It's like, I don't know what it is like, but it's magic, because you can find out ideas for literally anything having to do in the realm of education, any project, any content area, any TEK, any skill. There's something, some teachers done it and they even put a picture of what the final product was there. So when in doubt, you know, try putting it into the Pinterest search bar if you're, you know, looking for one of those concepts or skills or ideas in the TEKS that you're unfamiliar with. And if you don't find it, or you still have questions, certainly highlight it, and that could be something that we talk about next time we meet.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so sorry I had to reschedule with you. My God, my life has been insane.
That's okay. Yeah.
We had COVID, and I have 5 kids, and we had COVID, and then we had flu B, and it's just been a freaking nightmare. I'm like, the doctor's office is like, well, we were just talking about you yesterday because I was just there like a week ago, and I feel like we live there.
You know how it is. My mom has 5 kids. I'm one of 5, so
Oh my
we
God,
were
that's
always at the doctor's too.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, it just runs through all of us. It's like we already know the drill.
Yeah, and the doctor's like, "Hello, welcome." I still
I
take
know. I mean,
my daughter goes to the same one. My daughter goes to
Yeah.
the same pediatrician that I went to. So he's like, "Oh, so how's your family? This and that." I'm like, "Yeah, they're
Yeah,
good."
that's so awesome. That is so very cool. I wish I could take my kids to my doctor. I loved my doctor. But yeah, actually when we moved to San Antonio, I was really upset because in the valley, like I used to go and all my 5 kids, I would take them. They would have us. Let's go. We're all gonna go get shots or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't let you do that in San Antonio. They make you make like, and you can't even do them the same day. Like you have to make like, so I'd have to bring 3 one day and 2 the other. It was so annoying. Like they're like,
So
I'm
then you have
sorry,
to
ma'am.
miss extra work because not only do they do the
Yes,
shots, but then you have to
yes,
recover. Like
yes.
that,
Oh my God, it was the
like
worst.
I want to do it on a Friday so I can get it over the weekend. What are you talking about?
Exactly,
That's what
exactly,
my mom did. She's like, "Let's go. I don't want to hear any complaining."
exactly. Well,
Yeah.
not here. We got to break it apart. But anyway, we still go in all together. Just 2 have to stay outside in the waiting room. You know?
The older ones leave them by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I will see you. Get back with me as soon as you finish that stuff. You don't have to do it today or anything like that, just at your own pace. But certainly when you get the scores, and I think it's immediate, send them to me so I could take a look at it and be a little bit more focused on your areas of need. And this is something that you would do for your students, right? What I'm asking of you is to have an assessment, and we assess our students not so we could give them grades and say, haha, you got an A, you got a C. It's to see like, how can I better help you? Like, where are you right this second? Where are your areas of need? So I'm just not like, going willy-nilly over all of it, and we can focus on like what really you need to work on.
Well, that's why I guess I was so overwhelmed because I was going like just over everything. And I was like, I don't know if I know this or not, because at this point I'm exhausted. Like I'm looking at so many different letters and words, and I'm just like, I'm done. Like I just need to check out. So
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going about this situation the right way.
Take a deep breath. It's going to be fine. I say the first step is to take the exam. Just take it, and you can take it again afterwards. I think they allow you to do it, or maybe you can only see your scores for 100 to 200 days. I'm not sure, but in any event, it'll be an amazing starting point for us to see like, what are your areas of weakness? You don't need to be studying stuff you already know or practicing things you can already do. We want to do the thing, kind of expedite the process and find out where you really should focus.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and I will see you sometime in the future.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.